Speaking of fentanyl, as heroin became, more popular, fentanyl popped up on the scenes. And dealers once again found something that they could get cheaper and that they could make more money on. They would get the fentanyl and they maybe could turn 1 gram into 10 grams, which is a big deal when it comes to them making money. And as Karen said, it's much more potent than your regular, Mexican brown heroin that we, see frequently. Fentanyl is smuggled in from all over the world. It's brought in across the borders. It's mailed in. We don't typically see legitimate prescriptions on the street. You don't see somebody with a fentanyl pop walking down the street trying to sell it, or somebody with fentanyl patches passing them out like you do Suboxone or something. It's typically a powder substance, which is really, in our eyes, that's why it's so dangerous, is because when a drug dealer obtains such a potent powder, they cut it, right? Because they're gonna turn 1 gram into 10. Well, when they're cutting it, they're not using professional equipment. They're going to a kitchen table and they're sitting there mixing it up with a credit card or a license or whatever they do, a bullet blender. So there's no way that they can know how much fentanyl is in each dose that they sell. So one dose could be 30% fentanyl, where another could be 80, and that's where they're killing people. It's just very dangerous the way they do it. They've actually got people here locally. We've arrested subjects who are known to be like cutters. Like, people would purchase fentanyl and they would call this person and say, "Hey, can you come cut my fentanyl for me?" Because they're good at it. It's kind of crazy. Of course, the overdoses begin happening, sometimes weekly, sometimes daily. I don't have the exact numbers on here, and I don't want to stand up here and throw a bunch of statistics. You guys are going to have heard enough of this. You hear it all the time. I mean, it's no secret that it's happening way too much. It's awful. I believe we just discussed earlier that the overdose rate for 2018, there's on average 3 a day. You have 3 overdoses on opiates a day. I can't necessarily blame it specifically on heroin, on fentanyl, or on oxycodone tablets, but I'm just telling you, it's bad, and it's opiates that's doing it. They don't discriminate. It doesn't matter what age, race, it doesn't matter about any of your demographics. If you abuse the drugs, then they're obviously going to eventually kill you, or they're going to lead you down a dark road until you find light. It seems to us that people who are addicted to opiates, they respond differently. Of course, somebody that's smoking crack is going to be different than somebody that's taking pills. Somebody that's taking pills is going to be different from somebody doing methamphetamine. The addicts for opiates, their drive, what we call dope sick. If you don't have your dose, then you get sick. You get some of the withdrawal effects, and you've got to have that dose. Somebody that's in opiates, they go to wherever they need to go. They do whatever they need to do to get their dose, and they're going to do it as soon as they can. That's why you're seeing a rise in overdoses. It's on the streets. You see people with some intersections, parking lots, in front of houses. If you remember, just a short time ago, we had 2 overdoses in a parking lot at once, and one of the females was pregnant. So it controls it just takes complete control of their thought process. With that being said, you see those overdoses on the streets, and there's one thing a drug dealer can't control, is when they're going to do their dose, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to do it as soon as they can. So a drug dealer may tell them, "Hey, you can't do it in front of my house. You need to get out of here." But they're going to go somewhere close and they're going to do it. And fortunately, we have a system that we can follow. Of course, every overdose is recorded. It's recorded. We take that location, and we work with HIMSI, and we are able to map out where these overdoses occur, and we're able to ramp up street enforcement, whether it be unmarked or uniform, and we go out there and we use that information to try to pinpoint where these dealers may be staying. Obviously, if there's an influx of overdoses in one area, then there's a dealer probably somewhere in that general area, and we can go out there and stop people and try to obtain intel and just, you know, and work it from that end. As overdoses occur, I'm sorry. We also make an effort to have agents respond out to overdoses and do what we can. We try to get them to cooperate, because obviously if somebody's putting something out there that's gonna kill somebody or put them in the hospital, we wanna know about them. Family members, we've had family members where people have actually been killed from an overdose, and the family members will actually turn their phones over to us, and we're able to search the phones and go into it and find the person using data off the phones. You know, it's unfortunate, this is another fact that happens here in Huntsville, and I've had people tell me this. They say, you know, we may have somebody cooperating as an informant. It's no secret we work informants. Yeah, you know, I get heroin from so-and-so. I OD'd on it back in January, but that made me want it even more. When these people overdose on this heroin, they want that heroin again because they know that it's strong. They're just gonna try to control their dose. Like I said, it takes over their mind, and that should say a lot about this crisis, is that if you can take something and it almost kill you and you wanna go back there, I mean, that's pretty serious. There's so much to cover, but before I run out of time, which I probably already have, I want to talk about a few indicators and terms that you guys might want to look for, as far as like some of your family members, friends, or things that you may hear, specifically kids, because you know that's where it's starting a lot here now. Heroin's awful. These are street names for heroin. We see them. We don't make these up. This is what they call it. H, hell dust, horse, junk, nose, drops, skag, SPAC, thunder, big H, brown sugar. If you see these coming up on your kid's text message, you see your family members using it, it's just something to think about, something to maybe bring to someone else's attention. I think we went over some of these: reduces attention, anxiety, aggression, heroin, causes lethargy, a lack of concentration, and indifference. This is what I tell people: if you're opiates, one of the biggest indicators in people on opiates is the constriction of their pupils. I mean, if you take a flashlight and you look at somebody's pupils, they dilate, they constrict, they dilate. Somebody that's on opiates, their pupils are typically like the size of pins. No one walks around like that. Okay, if your kid's coming home from school and their pupils are the size of pins, you might want to investigate it. Okay, if your husband, your wife, your cousin, your brother, whatever it is, if they're walking in with constricted pupils all the time, and they're flushed in the face or neck, they're always nauseous, they say something about being constipated, vomiting, all of these, those are indicators that if you see this in somebody, don't put your head in the sand. You need to either tell somebody, talk to them about it, or bring it up to somebody. With fentanyl, Apache, China Girl, China White, Dance Fever, Friend, Goodfella, Jackpot, Murder 8, TNT, Tango and Cash. That's for fentanyl. That's some of the names. If you hear any of those, something to look into. Like any opiate, the main symptoms of fentanyl abuse will be euphoria, drowsiness, lethargy, and mellowness. When it comes to you've got to pay attention. If someone's acting out of character, you've known somebody for 15 years, whether it's your kid or whatever, and they start acting and having some of these symptoms, then obviously it's something to address. And just a personal message from me as a representative of my unit. We work narcotics all the time, man. Everybody said you can't arrest your way out of the problem, which is very true. And unfortunately, in some jails, they got drugs in there. I'm not saying Madison County does. I'm just saying in general, drugs are available in jail too. Short time treatment facilities, they don't work. You guys have got to fight and get your family members or your friends, they need to be in long-term treatment. And as a community, as a nation, you've really got to stand up and fight for new legislation like Casey's Law and things like that. That way you can offer that in courts. Because as a police officer, as an agent, as whatever, you know, if you run into somebody that's in possession of a narcotic, how many choices do you got? You know, can you throw it away? No, you can't throw it away. You end up getting fired for something like that. You have to take them to jail, you know. If you don't take them to jail, you got a 50-50 chance you're gonna have people that say, why did you take them to jail? And then you're gonna have the other half that's gonna say, you know, you should, I'm glad you didn't take them to jail, or what have you. But you gotta understand, 99% of departments nationwide, policy-wise, if you catch somebody with a narcotic or heroin, you have to take them to jail. When it gets into the court system, that's judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys. If they don't have any other options than sentence, probation, whatever, put them in jail, and we don't have anything like Kentucky and them have, like Casey's Law, then don't expect, you know, to be able to go to a long-term treatment facility, which is what they need. So you just got to, yeah, I mean, you got to stand up and fight, and, you know, be patient with us that are on the front lines, because even as a cop, you know, I mean, we have sympathy for an addict, a user, victims of this terrible thing. If I got enough time to talk about dark web real quick.
Super fast.
Dark web, a lot of narcotics are being obtained through the dark web. Dark web was really kicked off in 2011. If you see here, this indicates like the way it's kind of viewed. An iceberg, the top surface, Google, Bing, Wikipedia, things that you see. The deep web is medical records, government sites, things like that. And then below that, of course, is the dark web. It's easily accessed. All it needs is a special browser. Your kid can download it, you can download it, anybody can download it. Once you're in that, it's not traceable. In 2011, there was a site called Silk Road. It was made up. Silk Road came up. The guy was actually in Texas, I think, when he originally started. But see, this dark web operates through so many relay computers that it goes from one computer to another computer to another computer, and then comes back, and it's so hard to trace. You can't. I mean, you pretty much can't do it. They started in 2011. They were shut down in 2013 because the FBI and the DEA got involved. Between 2011 and 2013, they did $1.2 billion in sales. 85% of the things on their site was drugs, narcotics, methamphetamine, MDMA, marijuana, anything that you could think of you could get. They have also, on the dark web, they sell things like assassins, murder for hire, sex trafficking, anything that you could think of that's illegal, you can get on the dark web. Thanks to Customs and Borders, they kind of slowed down the packages that comes through the borders. So they started sending things to couriers in Canada and Mexico. They send them couriers, it gets mailed there, and then they bring it right across the border. The dark web, it still goes on, even though they shut down Silk Road, which you can see, it's like a menu, it's like eBay or Craigslist. There's several other ones. As they shut down one, another one opens up. It don't stop, it's just a revolving door. That's about all I got. I'm sorry I took so long.